Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Football Therapy. Get your Chelsea news here, of course. This is Chelsea News, the daily series here on Football Therapy, where I reflect on what's being said about the Blues in the media, giving you my opinion, more importantly asking for yours. I've settled a little bit after recent poor displays, and there's a lot to get into. Gary Neville has spoken out on whether Thomas Tuchel's job will be in danger after a difficult run of form, and perhaps Chelsea looking like, at the moment, they don't have the answers. Silly, I know, but we're going to read about his comments and what he thinks, and I'll give my comment on that as well, and what I think where I think Chelsea are essentially, and where do we go from here, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll talk about the Premier League in general. So get comfortable, settle in, drop a like to support your boy Jan over here. It's just one click of a button and it helps me out. You're welcome to subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'd urge everyone who is newcoming or newcomers that have subscribed and people who already are, make sure you hit the bell and have all notifications turned on. Right, the Premier League isn't going to be cancelled. Good, I guess. Bad, I guess. Depending on where you're looking at this from. I mean, we all love watching football, right? And in a apocalyptic time like we are in at the moment, where perhaps you can't go out as much, staying home is easier when you can watch football on la télévision. But obviously, we are in very testing times, and you could make a very strong argument that postponing the league would have actually been a sensible thing, and largely for Chelsea as well, if you consider how Chelsea have been hamstrung, certainly in the last game, by everything. That may be a little bit of a postponement to really train the players in like a bubble, I guess, or something, or whatever they would have done. Really try and get Lukaku up to speed, get Kovacic and Kante up to speed, see what Chilwell's saying. I know we're not expecting him till next month, but do you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff there that maybe could have benefited Chelsea. It's frantic, it's just the way things are in terms of conditions, so you sort of got to take it on the chin, take the rough with the smooth. Apparently, they are not going to cancel the festive fixtures because it would create too much congestion in January, and therefore the extra load could risk injuries on the players. I think many coaches, although a lot of them that will perhaps want the football to be postponed, they'll reflect on that answer and be like, oh yeah, especially big clubs like Chelsea that play in loads of competitions, be like, you know what, we don't want to overcook these players, we already are. Imagine putting an extra like 3 or 4 fixtures in January, you know, after a little break as well, when they're not fit. It is dangerous. I do have sympathy for everyone in every corner of this situation. It's tricky, man. It's super tricky, but let's just always do glass half full and think, okay, football will remain, provided they do it in a safe capacity and they do it as sensibly as they can. We can all remain watching football and enjoying it, unless maybe you're a Chelsea fan. Lately, it's not been too good, has it? We'll talk about that in just a moment. We'll move on to Chelsea and talk about performances, maybe formations, approaches, personnel. We'll get into all of that, so keep it locked and stay comfortable. Gary Neville doesn't think Thomas Tuchel's job is in danger, which is positive, because I don't think it is either, but the fact how this conversation has already come up onto Sky Sports shows you that this is Chelsea Football Club in December. Thomas Tuchel dropped into Chelsea, won us the Champions League, gave us an immaculate defensive record, and we were top of the table for quite a while in the beginning of this campaign. But then again, Frank Lampard was top of the table in November with his Chelsea side, and it was December that ultimately got him sacked. But Thomas Tuchel isn't Frank Lampard, and there seems to be a lot of squad harmony. There's no players frozen out like there were with Frank. Not that people were necessarily missing a Marcus Alonso. And to be honest, from my perspective, I didn't think anyone was particularly missing Antonio Rudiger. Yes, he came in back in from the cold and was magnificent, but at the time we weren't like, oh no, Rudiger's not on the side, which is very telling to like the kind of performances he was putting in at the time. So I'm going to read you some quotes from G Nev. I do like Gary Neville as a pundit and a sort of footballing icon and spokesperson generally. So this is what he said on Sky Sports. Quote, I think he's got enough credit in the bank. Less than a year Champions League and Super Cup. I think so too. Quote, I know it's a club that does things very differently, but I'd hate to think that Thomas Tuchel is under pressure and they're thinking of making a change. I can't believe that to be the case. So maybe he's posed this question, I don't know the context, but the fact how they're talking about this is just shows you this is Chelsea generally, and Chelsea in December. I think he'll be a little bit worried. I think mentally, when you try and get a game called off and then you're told to play it, I can't think that helps the mindset of the game. True, of course, reflecting on this Wolves game. I know they didn't have a full bench, and I'll have to ask later why more young players couldn't come into it, but it was a strong Chelsea team. So yeah, on that, I don't think with... if you guys know, correct me, but I think the young under-23s are in a bubble. Or they train separately and they don't want to sort of like cross-contaminate the age groups at the moment. That's what I thought, so hence not bringing on like a Harvey Vale or something who's been on the bench before and perhaps less risky times. You guys will have to let me know. It was a strong Chelsea team in terms of talented players on the pitch, but when you've got, Pulisic playing a false nine, Trevor having to play into midfield, and Marcus Alonso being your left wing back. I'm sorry, he was a lot better in the second half. I'm not, I feel awful when I slag off Marcus Alonso because I'm not that guy. But it's been poor. So yeah, writing in the Telegraph. So colleague Jamie Carragher warned the German Blues coach to elect to. The Blues could elect to make a change if the club's fortune does not improve. So this is Jamie Carragher now saying, well, you could get sacked now. But, anyone can get sacked if they don't do well. Writing in his Telegraph column, by the way, I'm getting this off football.london, I should definitely cite that. Writing in his Telegraph column, he said, quote, recent history tells us it does not take much to cause a tremor at Chelsea Football Club, but some clubs see a blip. The Stamford Bridge board tend to identify a full-blown emergency. So he says that almost like in a derogatory fashion, but the fact is it's been a model that's seen Chelsea very, very successful, but at the same time probably making incorrect decisions at times. Certainly you would have thought if Thomas Tuchel's job was in any danger or if they made a move on him now, it would certainly be an incorrect decision because, Jesus, look at the mitigating circumstances. Carragher goes on, quote, you can be sure there's some anxiety within the Chelsea hierarchy after this latest setback. Those are the rules Chelsea have established with the previous managerial decisions. Usually it is fans or media accused of an overreaction after a couple of poor results. Chelsea have built a reputation of being more impatient than their top four rivals. True, for better or for worse, that is true. So what is going on? What is the problem? Well, recently it was defending, keeping clean sheets, or more notably, like Thomas Tuchel, the Chelsea manager, said, it's not about keeping clean sheets, it's about not conceding 3 goals every game and losing. Clean sheets are great, but generally, if you concede one, odds are you can still win if you're a big team. He didn't say that exactly, but I think that's generally, what he's trying to get over there. So, keeping clean sheets and then scoring goals. All the important stuff in football matches. You could argue against Wolves, it was good to get a clean sheet. And a general solid display. But again, Wolves had scored 2 goals in 7 games. So now they've scored 2 goals in 8 games because they didn't score against Chelsea. Which, by the way, they nearly did. A couple of occasions. Certainly they had an offside goal ruled off. 2 goals. Yes, you want to celebrate a clean sheet, but celebrating a clean sheet with like a first choice goalkeeper, back three, N'Golo Kante in front of them, Trevor Chalobah, who's a centre back CDM, a very defensive midfielder playing in front of them. So that back 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that back 5, that block in front of a very good goalkeeper feels just not so exciting or great to celebrate a clean sheet against a side that scored 2 goals in 7 games. But still, it's a clean sheet, so, it is what it is. You could also argue 2 goals in 7 games, they were due a goal. And Chelsea, of course, confidence mentality is not high. Loads of attacking players on the pitch. And really, the only continuity in terms of good performances is Mason Mount. Granted, he wasn't that great against Wolves, but certainly the previous 5 games or whatever. And Thiago Silva in defence, who, by the way, despite Chelsea conceding goals, he's always looking good himself individually. He's just been imperious. So he's been superb. So why Thomas Tuchel? Let's talk about the manager then. Like, what is he doing or not doing? I understand why a lot of people are calling for him to change the formation, but I absolutely understand why he hasn't done suddenly all of a sudden now. Had he been training one and slowly trying to implement it in while things are going well for Chelsea in the back three, that would have been like a sensible like contingency plan. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes, we're going well, but for when it doesn't, we've got this in the bank, we've got this in the chamber. We can, drop this one and it's all good. We haven't done that, I don't think, by all accounts. So not having done that to this mega festive congested schedule, be like, oh my god, this isn't going well. 4-3-3! It's not going to work for us, do you know what I mean? So I have sympathy for that. I don't think it's smart to suddenly switch. I think the players could play in that formation, but I understand how with this mega congested schedule, you sort of play what you know best, which of course is a 3-4-3. And you can cook with a 3-4-3, man. You can play really well and score goals. If you look at that Tottenham performance against Liverpool the day after our game, I think it was the day after, wasn't it? Was it the same day? Whatever, it's not important. How many chances were Tottenham? I mean, Tottenham scored 2 goals, but they could have scored a lot more. Clear-cut chances as well. I think they had a very high XG. Chelsea, we feel like we're creating chances, but then when the game finishes, you're like, oh yeah, the XG's not that high, because they're not clear-cut. We've got players with finishing issues, and we've got the, not that final pass to make it a deadly, combination. Is this Thomas Tuchel's fault? I don't know. I'm reluctant to... I think he could have done better in certain instances. I don't always like his subs, but I'm really mindful and reluctant to criticise a manager that's been really successful with Chelsea in a short tenure, defensively resolute, and still scoring a lot of goals. Not like as much as Liverpool and not quite as much as City, but nearly as many as them, and defending better generally until, of course, this blip. And this blip comes in a time when everything seems to be going wrong in the world of football. So I am just reluctant to criticise the manager. But Chelsea will suddenly, the gaze of Roman Abramovich and Marina Granovskaya will suddenly be looking at Tuchel like, so what's going on here, mate? Yeah, that's fine. You can have a weird draw to Burnley. That's fine, mate. Football happens, even with the top best teams. It happens to City and Liverpool every now and again. Man United, that's disappointing because we outplayed them and generally they were playing really, really badly and we were heavy favourites. Frustrating. Okay, we're going to have to move on. Obviously we're finishing second in the group. We got Lille, so in the end it didn't matter. But Zenit 3-3. Geez, this isn't good. Come on, Tuchel. What's happening here, man? Everton. Come on, we should have absolutely battered Everton. And now Wolves. Yes, we were threadbare, but it was Wolves. If you think about that, that's the kind of stuff, in theory, that's the kind of stuff why you might look at the owner's attention. Like, come on, mate. I know this is difficult, but Still, I've said this before, I've said it again, I'm going to reiterate it. I'm totally cool with Thomas Tuchel not winning the Premier League in his first full season at Chelsea. Especially, like Gary Neville said, credit in the bank, Champions League, Super Cup, might win the Club World Cup, and who knows, a domestic cup. All great, all great. And in his first 18 months, you can be like, oh, he won three trophies in his first 18 months, and one being the best trophy around. Do you know what I mean? But it's important to keep an eye on this and have a feel of where we're actually going. So I'm keen to start up a conversation about this in the comment section. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Express yourselves. I'll be down there looking at you guys having conversations with each other, hopefully. Drop a like to show support on the channel. That does mean a lot. And of course, everyone is welcome to subscribe. Interesting times ahead, ladies and gents. So you make sure, now it is going on, you enjoy the football, and I will see you later.